Welcome to Transmissions from Yonder Shore, a podcast for the mythic seeker at the liminal edge. Well, welcome to the From Yonder Shore podcast. I'm your guide, Chris Kaplan. With me today is director, screenwriter, playwright, Emmanuel Martin Di Feliciantonio.
That's it.
Thank you. I want to spice that in. So, a true esoteric artist, and we're going to circle back on that one like real quick, because this is something like a term you throw around quite often. Every time we're together, we throw around. But Manu, thank you for coming on here today, being here with me. It's great to catch up with you, brother. Mm-hmm. If anyone out there is unfamiliar with your work, you're just a brilliant visionary director. You're screenwriting. You're like one of the most prolific writers I've ever known. Mm-hmm. And it's all absolutely gorgeous stuff, and it's so layered with meaning. But at the heart of every piece is like this esoteric philosophy. And this is something like throughout our talks in New York, every time we meet up throughout the years, like years go by, we catch up again. We're always picking up on the similar wavelength. And I wanted to ask you about your kind of understanding, I guess your take on what it means to be like an esoteric artist.
Well, basically that came out as a little bit of an idea of like expression for me. It doesn't really concern the content itself. I don't like that word content anyway. I get it. It's a word that people use. I'm not really a fan of that word. But in other words,
like describing the ineffable, like it's all the names we could try to give to a godhead or something like that. It's just it's good for now. It's
good for now, exactly. But esoteric for me means more about the expression within what's in between. So in other words, everything that will be expressed through literature, painting, music, dancing, performing, all manners of expression, as long as it connect with the things that are outside of the obvious. And what I mean by obvious is like the roads taken that we take because of education, because of perceptions, politics, experiences that are nothing to do with our truest divine essence, but more like something that was imposed upon us. That's what esoteric means for me. It's not necessarily about science fiction,
or speculative or predictive or anything like that. It's just I know, like, we've collaborated briefly. I know we've shared like each other's work quite often, and I always go for more of the sci-fi bent, but you have like tapping into these kind of realms, which you're not like consciously doing, from our dialogues. It just comes through, expresses like this internal back note truth, like this vibration that's just thumping, and to this like soundtrack of our lives type of thing.
That's beautiful. And that's exactly what's going on now. For example, we try to get on the Zoom. There is an issue with my camera that I cannot explain. It would be an esoteric idea of a new way of communicating at the moment that will create a dialogue within something that's like an idea of what I look like, for example, like just to be exact. So nothing is engineered, but the accident becomes the truth within the moment.
Right. Yeah. That's the exact thought I had. It's very similar to the creation process, where we may have an idea starting out, or a micro idea, a one step forward type of thing. And then some, out of left field, like the story wants to take a new direction. All of a sudden, like, maybe a gun is produced in the show or in the play, and it creates this trigger moment, no pun intended, that just creates a curveball and takes a whole new trajectory, and new life is kind of being breathed through these projects.
This is so important. The idea of like creating outside of the obvious, I like that word, because I say it's a fairly simple idea for people to kind of grasp. It's everything that's linked what they call a frequency. Like you can actually, if you want to move forward the conversation towards that idea of like higher frequency, lower frequencies. People,
Yeah.
are probably familiar with those terms. Your
Well,
audience.
that's a big thing. I mean, that's also like, the title of the show, the title of my work has always been like Transmissions from Yonder Shore, because it is all about the frequency, whether they're dreamtime messages, whether it's synchronicity, whether, it is radio signals and stuff like that. And it's a really funny thing that's been coming up with actually the theme of this week. I had recorded an episode. I'm not sure where the calendar is yet, with Eric Myers, who's a wonderful transpersonal astrologer and also a wonderful writer. And then Nat Gersberger, who is a Nat and a fantastic artist, but also develops like these gorgeous tarot decks based on her artwork and her understanding and intuitive knowledge of the tarot. And the two recurring themes that were coming out were coming from either being a writer or an artist, they're one and the same, is like where we're drawing from this well of inspiration that is kind of like guiding our work. And none of it is really coming from like a conscious input on like the ego part of ourselves. It's more of like something is kind of possessing us, taking over, and wanting to be birthed. Almost like these ideas are just spores that are getting, blown every which way, kind of trying to get pollinated to any human being, whether signals kind of beaming from some kind of like PKD put it, VALIS, the vast acting living intelligence system.
Oh my God. I was just,
yeah, right. And it's just like,
I'm sorry to cut you.
No, please.
Fun, but it's crazy about circumstances, and I don't, there's nothing. So it's not coincidence. But I was listening to the last interview of Philip Dick, like weeks ago. There's two interviews. There's one he did in '79, and one he did just prior the release of Blade Runner.
Right.
And he approached two topics: consciousness and really his idea of like the material versus the spirit in a way.
Yeah.
And he was touching on he was in awe of sorry, my accent, sometimes.
No, we understand you perfectly.
I don't understand what I'm saying sometimes, let me know. But it was
no, you're perfect.
I'm good, okay. But Blade Runner for him was like his first kind of like big money. He could have gotten much more money actually, his expenses. And it was funny the way he expressed this thing. He says, there are things in the novel that will never translate. But he was happy with the construction of this world that he kind of like could see being born, for a new audience.
Yeah.
And this contradiction between, again, the esoteric idea of the creation born out of the mind of the visionary words on the page. And I find his audience through this material world. And you mentioned valleys because actually the idea of consciousness existing and pre-existing.
That idea then of like this seed, like Blade Runner, do androids dream of electric sheep, the novel, right? This seed, this download, this transmission of what this kind of story, plot line, anything that kind of this world being kind of downloaded is just like a seed idea. And then like when Ridley Scott comes along, takes Blade Runner into this whole other direction, which is, cinematically, like it's absolutely gorgeous. And the world is so visceral, right? But it's also taking the story into, obviously this always happens with adaptations too, taking it into a whole new life. And you get to see the textures of it. You can almost smell what's kind of happening with it. And it's like another iteration of that seed, of that plant that's sort of like taking root and kind of blossoming in consciousness at that ripe kind of moment,
Well, yeah, this is funny because also he touched on his Berkeley days.
Did he in that? I haven't listened to that interview in such a long time.
It's such a great interview.
What was he talking to you about?
He basically said at the beginning he really enjoyed the idea of like having this maelstrom of events that happened at the time, and he was able to have great minds around him, and like also he was kind of like working, like everyone else. I was working at this repair shop, repairing radios.
Right.
And one of his first novel that didn't get published until 2007 was
it Voices from the Street?
Yeah, that was his first novel. It's very, very, very rare book. I bought it in 2007. I read it actually, there are some ideas that landed in my screenplay, Lionel Phantom, but that's a sideway, and I'll explain to you why. But basically, was studying this idea before science fiction of the humanity within the existential idea of a person that was a writer or aspiring writer, like in touch with commerce and retail. And it reminded me of this old San Francisco. Bukowski was working at the post office, when he wrote, I think.
Yeah.
It's unpublished book, get published later. But yeah, there is this common thread between being in touch with the people and the mundane and the fantastical hiding under the surface. And that's why I think, going back to your question, I think that's what esoteric is about. It's like finding in the mundane, the fantastical, and then make it your life mission to highlight the possibilities of the divine within us. When I talk about divine, of course, it's not organized religion. Although you can be a Roman Catholic, you can be an Orthodox Jew, you can be a Muslim, Sufist, or I won't say Salafist, but you can be anything. You can be anything in life, but at the end of the day, what's going to define you is how you place yourself in that relationship between the divine within. That's what I call the creator's frequency, and the struggle that allows you to kind of like place yourself within humanity. You know what I mean?
I do. I love that. And I love that label, the creator's frequency. I mean, that is like kind of like what esoteric means, right? Coming as like this inner knowledge, this inner truth, but it's not like just like so subterranean, like there is this dance and participation where it comes, like it changes, alters your perception that kind of interacts with the environment externally. So it becomes exoteric after, from the esoteric, and there's like this divine sense of play that emerges from it. And I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful garden, a beautiful ocean to swim in. And, it's just, it's constantly reinvigorating, especially as artists, like to be able to be in participation and play and constantly be inspired and reinvigorated by the, what is happening externally, how we're moving through our environments and all our daily interactions. That's just creating this, like this amalgamation of sensory sort of experience that just perpetually feeds itself, it kind of reaffirms truth, inner truth. And it also starts rewriting it, redirecting the cosmic eddies, so to speak, and takes you in new directions. It's pretty crazy.
I know, and it's almost you don't know where you're gonna land. All my process. Yeah. I mean, Lionel Phantom, we met in 2009 or 10. Mm-hmm. Your brother was an actor, still an actor.
Yeah.
But what's great about it is like I met you through that event when I was kind of like giving one of my works to your brother, and then we met, and then you came to I came to one of your show when you had like art and music.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn, I think in Red Hook.
Yeah, it was in Red Hook. It was, I forget, the Brooklyn Artists Waterfront Coalition. Yeah, we had this brief residency for the Transmission Project, which was this Zodiac art music amalgamation project, aleatoric, where it's based on the Zodiac, the chromatic cycle, and then the whole tones and the chakra colors and live paintings, and just very improvisational, all about really just sort of channeling that inspiration of the moment type of thing. And so it is very fitting.
What's amazing about that moment, I remember coming to this place, and again, synchronicity, right? We're talking about all these things, frequency, synchronicity, and you had this art moving with sound, and I said, "Oh, I'm having this short film, Lionel Phantom, showing at this Synchronites. I won the best."
I remember that.
Who that?
I do. I came, or was that the play version?
Coronation Festival. He was in at this gallery called actually the condo now. It's over last year. It's sad,
Oh, I didn't know that.
That place, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Gallery, famous gallery, legendary gallery in Cronites. But anyway, the point of that story was you came to see this film and Lionel Phantom, and then out of this experience, ocean open of like different ideas about art, music, cross-disciplinary. Actually, I won best cross-disciplinary award that for that film.
Fantastic!
That film, which was great because that's what you were doing yourself.
Yeah.
So in other words, my point of all this was, as we met, it's almost like our work merged at the same time in a space that we access different ways. That's what I'm talking about here with esoteric. And I'm not a sci-fi buff as you are, and you're an incredible writer. I mean, you're more a sci-fi person.
Yeah, I definitely ran off with it for sure. I know, I appreciate it.
Great, and publishing all these beautiful things. What I love about that moment, I mentioned the genesis of our relationship as artists is like, as friends, like it came together as like we connected to a dimension that were kind of like we were channeling from.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to your signal idea, because that was a big thing in Lionel Phantom, this short film. It's about a DJ who channels different spirits and artists.
It's fantastic.
Is like this whole idea, right? And then we created this soundscape, like, and it turned into this Super 8 project, and with that Star Wars soundtrack, almost like very ambitious project of 6 months. That was really, really intricate with sounds and music, and
it's outstanding. It was one of my favorites of yours.
Thank you. When I saw your work, I was like, wow, like we get the stuff from the same place. And that's what I think I meant by this answer, is like, it's almost like we don't control the signal, but we control how we respond to it. It's almost like our responsibility is to kind of dial the signal is coming to us, and we heal each other through that, or we don't. That's the feel for me. But it's going on with or without me or without you. That's what's beautiful about it. I feel like there is a permanence in the universe. It's just a matter of like connecting with it, like almost like, an invisible cord, I think, actually, in mythology or even in some religions.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that in the whole web of life, and also some visionary states. Like oftentimes I would see these threaded, like every inhale and every exhale is a lifetime, and things are just being knotted and threaded in this long, in the wide scope is this insane tapestry, this beautiful lattice was being created.
Like, I think one of your works, I don't know if you want me to talk about this.
We can talk about whatever you want.
All right. So I like that idea about climate that you had. I told you this, I think it was not the Book of Enoch, but it was like, I forgot the title. Can remind me. It was this climate hellscape.
Are you talking about Midnight Suns?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I'm fascinated by this first page because I'm a writer, but I'm not a novelist.
Right.
I have many people that have told me in my life that, I've been writing novels for a while.
I absolutely support it. I'm also biased. It's my favorite medium, but like
you're so great at it too.
I appreciate that. But your visual
like masterful, and you remind me of those great guys like Dick, and his most. That's in the
very kind of you.
This existential science fiction. By the way, in the interview, Philip Dick said he took a lot from Proust and
fantastic,
the French writer, Balzac, and the stuff. I said, that's what we have in common. Education matters, like the French post-romantic world. And Guy de Maupassant, he was a fan of Guy de Maupassant, and all these.
That's one thing I really respected about Dick's work and him in general. Like, even though he filtered his knowledge and his storytelling through science fiction, he was such a prolific gatherer of reading, of resources, of everything. Because even like my favorite author, Henry Miller, is very much the same thing.
I know you like him.
Oh yeah, a big fan. Like, speaks to my on a soul level type of thing. And but the commonality between them is that they're so open-minded that they are and devourous to learn and to know and to grow and to find these commonalities and reflections. And I feel like that's what starts to happen too, where the more you sort of consume or observe or seek, you find these similarities and commonalities that are like these core truths that are just universal.
That's so interesting, because I always felt like I learned a lot in school, and I really enjoyed my education. That's another thing that you mentioned as well in that interview, just to go back to that author.
Yeah.
But a lot of people actually that I know have been taking the best out of knowledge and transforming it like an alchemist.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? Using their life. And basically,
I agree.
Like, the Philosopher's Stone is crazy, the name, what it is a symbol for more than that. The knowledge is into the transformation within. Like, you have to kind of take it's like, that's why I think, we can go on and on, all different conversations, but I think I have to talk about this now.
Yeah. And I want to circle back to Lionel Phantom real quick, but there, what you reminded me of is also like, and Alan Moore talks about this a lot, who was another big fan of mine, who's a graphic novelist and then now a novelist. But the idea of like ideas themselves being life forms, being a form of consciousness, an entity, if you will, or even cities, right? Having this kind of back note, sort of like psionic residue that builds up and creates its own kind of consciousness, like
Yeah,
from this hub. And it's so true, right? And ideas have the same thing. It's how
yeah,
things become legend and myth as well. It's
yeah.
fascinating.
And this is what I think art becomes a reflection as well as an actor of what we call civilization. Because another thing too, the words can be misleading because the perspective
Yeah.
becomes the beholder. The problem,
Right.
right? So it's like, is that mirror like it's like you look in the mirror and you look at yourself. That the famous Oscar Wilde
Yeah.
picture of Dorian
Yeah.
Gray. I mean,
And it's so true because it's so dependent on it's dependent on personal experience. It's all subjective and like cultural environments, the language we're using. I kind of talk about this a lot. It's an essay up on my website called The Language of the Heart, and it kind of breaks down where ultimately all we have is like this trust that our transmission is being received, like the filter of the heart mind, our intent behind our words.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, things just there's no guarantee that when I'm talking about the color blue, it's going to, resonate or bring up or convey the same thing that blue means to you, and
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good point because in color perceptions is everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to agree. We agree to
Yeah.
disagree, basically. I mean, we agree that we have our own perception. I mean, that's the only thing that's funny because we're supposed to look at the same things and
I know we assume we're seeing the same thing because we're, as
yeah,
human beings, we are wired biologically, same perceptors, but like
yeah,
there's a lot of variation within those too. And then I take that a step further, like your video production, your films that you make, and like Christopher Bruno, who I did the transmission project with, is a wonderful photographer and filmmaker too. And I talk about this often because right now we have, behind the scenes, all the everyone in post production, all the care that and sound engineers or cinematographers are taking for particular lighting, a particular sound effect, and then it's being filtered through a ton of different mediums. Some people are watching on a movie on their phone, some are on their tablet, some on a big screen, and like different headphones and stuff. And how do you get that uniform expression? Like it's being tailored to be a certain like kind of output, but there's no guarantee that like all those things are getting muddled. I find that fascinating. Like it's so crazy.
It's the content versus the content. That was a big dialectic idea, like the conundrum of modernity.
Yeah.
If the content becomes content, there's no more content.
Yeah.
It's almost like a strange thing. Like, so the app becomes not what within the app, it becomes the food itself because it compresses meaning. It's actually the idea of compression in technology. When you actually compress this interview or whatever, we're doing, to stream it, the idea of compression is already reducing the origin to a place where it will be shared. So the idea of like sacrificing size and quality for a shareable file, is specifically a problem for me.
It's interesting because the fidelity suffers, but the fidelity is part of like the original creation. You
got it. So this is exactly my issue with technology as it approaches the digital age, and it was there for a while now. Where AI is taking to a new level the speed of this thing as the cartel of like plagiarism, I call it.
Yeah.
Which is what it is, but that's for another conversation. But at the end of the day, it's the same. It's like streaming is great, sharing. But the idea of sacrificing this is a biblical thing. You sacrifice something pure in order to diffuse it and to share it. There is no such thing as like keeping it in its original state. Like we succumb to gravity, relationships, friendship.
All these orbits
on the ground.
Yeah,
right. It's like everything becomes smaller or fall almost by a physical state of affairs.
Yeah, it's like reaching his apogee and perigee, because sometimes these things go full circle too, where
Yeah.
because fidelity starts to suffer and you're like, yeah, it's great that you have access to these things. Sometimes like there's a full circle moment where like physical media is becoming back to being more of a popular thing because people are tired of having like 15 different streaming services. Something they're
Yeah.
watching magically disappears, or it's edited and censored in some fashion. But I do see like that's coming back around where people are kind of like, oh, I want to pick up that Blu-ray or something, or listen to it, some record on
Yeah.
vinyl.
Expansion,
And
reduction, that's the key of
yeah,
life,
exactly,
right? Isn't that crazy?
exactly.
Because that's kind of the how the universe works.
Yeah, this whole in breath, out breath, and it expands and contracts, and it's a natural cycle. And thus, everything as being human beings, being product of nature, anything we create is a product of nature too. It follows those same cosmic laws, and which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Like your painting, for example. One day I was hanging out with my friend Ernest back in the day. He was a painter. I made a documentary about
Yeah.
2002. I did that 24 years ago. And he says, you can turn off the light if there's a blackout tomorrow, because there was a blackout that summer in 2003. And he had no electricity to begin with where he used to live. He used to live in a squat. What's funny is like, it didn't bother him because he said, oh, if I have a book or I'm good because I just don't need electricity. During the day, I don't need, the TV will be off, the radio will be off, but the physical book and the painting I'm watching on the wall, I can still have interaction with that. And it stuck with me because it's such a simple statement, but it's true. Like if tomorrow, God forbid, we have an electrical outage, tomorrow.
Funny you say that. We do have a big solar storm happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Tonight, so that's funny.
About this too. That's funny, but you can't do. I can't. As long as the sun rises, you can read it tomorrow. But you're not going to be able to watch that DVD or that Blu-ray. You're not going to be able to like be online with me. But you still have your book to read, to imagine that world that's going to be born out of the page, because the Gutenberg like basically invented the press. But then again, the painting, the pigments that you made on your wall like a cave painter will still be here. Right? Isn't that fascinating?
It's so true. It is absolutely fascinating. And it goes back like also like if it's lost civilization theories and stuff like that, it's crazy how little is actually left behind. And we think about like the Anthropocene level, all our plastics and everything would just be our inheritance. Like that would be like our gift to the future.
Right?
To future Earth.
I'm looking at your painting right now behind you.
Yeah.
And that painting will exist within a solar storm until it's not, until the oceans rises and
decomposes,
bring back to dust. But the point is, as long as there is like some kind of physical idea of what we do versus the electrical maze that we made with this digital age, we still have a chance to, be more aware of our creations. It's kind of strange. So you need kind of both.
It is strange too, because partly one of the reasons why like digital media and the cloud storage, everything sort of came to be was this idea that we're preserving something, for the long term. Like it's not just isolated to one hard drive. It's but everything has just been digitized, and that can be gone in one foul swoop. It's crazy,
right?
Yeah, it's very eerie, and fascinating.
It's funny. I wrote 2 plays this winter, and I'll share it with you. Did I send that to you?
Oh, you have to.
I did actually, probably, but I did send you that email. I don't know. Maybe I'll start to send it again. Maybe I didn't.
Was it this winter or last winter? I mean, this is also a problem too. You're highly prolific, so it's hard to keep up.
I just like this was like kind of in. There's a couple of plays. One of them was an adaptation for the stage of my movie An Afternoon in Monte Carlo. And I translated the period. And, of course, with this administration, it was easy for me to kind of like go deep in the 30s, the 40s. But
you definitely have not sent me that one. That's the last play I read was Find New Cannibals, which is
that one. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
The last 2 one I did was probably, you would love those. But my point I'm making is that the process of writing those plays made me realize you need the discipline to have a system in a way. You create your own system, your own code as a creator, right? And then the magic sinks in because you still let that part of yourself open to the signal.
Yeah.
So it's a dance between discipline and availability to the unknown. Those are the two
Absolutely.
things that as a writer, I think we struggle with sometimes because some events in our lives push us to doubt that
Yeah.
process. And once you doubt the process somehow, the signal becomes further from your ear, from
Hmm.
your soul, from your inner inspiration. And even
Yeah.
that discipline will do nothing to you because you will just be disciplined.
Yeah,
But if it's
exactly. It doesn't have that
signal,
life force, that breath within it, you know?
right? But if it's just the signal without discipline, you won't have the hardware necessary in life to
Yeah.
share
We
with
need
the
that
world
fishing net.
that
We
signal.
need to catch it somehow, you know? We need to, and
Right?
that's what we're kind of doing is just taking those little glints and trying to capture as many as we can and putting it down and like,
Yeah.
you know, seeing what's planted. You know, and a very similar thing, this was several years ago by now,
Mhm.
I'm sure, was another concept of like what we're trying to do as, you know, as writers and as artists is always, and you mentioned Proust earlier for, you know, PKD, his love for that. And Proust is like
Better in
in
English.
search of lost time, right? But
Yes.
like you mentioned something of that, like what we're trying to do is like find more time. And like that always stuck with me. I don't know if that's exactly how you put it.
No, I say I'm
Um,
addicted to time. That's why I put it.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
addicted to time. That's the addiction I have. So anytime I get a breathing room in the material space, I will
yeah,
cut myself from the idea of making more, and it will be a sum zero game for me. To
yeah.
time. That's for me the luxury is time.
It is, and it's so true. And like what you were mentioning just previously about like, you know, the struggles that we have, the dips and ebbs and flows, and life, you know, happens, and to keep that like discipline helps kind of navigate that. But we want to keep like, you know, that signal sort of open, the receiver open. But
Yeah.
like life does bring constantly new challenges, and it's always, and they can be beautiful things too. Like, you know, here
Mm.
I'm, you know, living with you know, a new family. I'm a family man now, and like, you know, time is limited, and my structure around like, you know, my
Yeah.
morning writings, my evening writings and stuff had to change, and for, you know, beautifully so. But there was a struggle with that change too. But you know, you find, because you know, this is like a lifeblood for me. There's no way I can't stop. It'll be like agonizing to not write or something.
Mm.
So you find a way, and those challenges also kind of, you know, propel you into new directions too, and they're fruitful. You know, they force you to grow and to evolve and to um,
Mm.
all those necessary. The conflict propels the story, right? You know, the old
Yeah,
adage.
that's what they said, and I'm not a fan
Yeah.
of those things, but yeah, there's
Oh,
some
I
things.
hear you.
You know, for me, it's funny because I'm not like I'm a rebel. This
Yeah,
idea of like rebelling against the rules or the norms because they exist somehow in
yeah,
this exchange of ideas through time. You know, people have exchanged those ideas for so long that they become the norm. But it's
yeah.
true
It's
sometimes.
become dogma, you know, a little bit.
Yeah. But we don't think about it, right? It's like almost like it's in a clock and we just go with the story. I mean, I think we created this piece together, the sci-fi,
Yeah.
you know, series we start working on. And then,
Oh, vibe in, vibe out, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
with that, and that was 9 years
Wonderful. We
ago.
have to dip back into that soon.
Yeah. And this is like kind of crazy because it's almost like we are a part of the experience as human beings,
Yeah.
and we have our own way to approach creativity, but it comes from the same source in a way. I
Right.
go back to what I was saying earlier, you know, different mediums, you know, never dwell into this art as a plastician, you know,
Right.
but more as the words and the camera, the visual, the music and the sounds.
Yeah.
So
There's
there
so
was
many different languages to translate and transmit those messages, you know?
that's what we realized, you know,
Yeah.
as I'm discovering this incredible, you know, panorama and array of like expression and ideas, I'm like, you know what? It's the same source, you
Yeah.
know? It's just like with beautiful people. Some people like this, some people like that. Some people learn this. It's more circumstantial where you were born, the people you had around when you were growing up, trauma and so forth, you know, create avenues for like, you know, storytelling, story ideas, storylines.
Absolutely. It's all fertilizer for that soil of being, you know. We
Right.
need those various nutrients and, you know,
Yeah. And the
and there's
conflict is just inherent to the idea of birth, like 9 months
absolutely.
in the belly.
Absolutely. And and artists and writers, we're kind of like midwifing those stories. It's like being a birth doula in a way, where you're kind of like, you're fostering to see this passage coming to be, rather than like, laboring so much. I mean, there's laboring as a part of it, but there's it's more of a guidance than I feel like.
It's almost like they don't want, when I say they, it's like, I don't like saying that, but they in a social constrained way, like people, looking in the mirror, and it's self-censorship too. But there is no need for, or one is the word really, for transcendence as much as I think we should, need right now. I think like my only thing is transcendence for me. Like when I say transcendence, is like trying to see in every little situation what are the possibilities, and believe so much in it that they become real, and I think we can push love like that. Love is a part of that to me.
Absolutely agreed. I feel like they're very, very much from the same frequency, or are the same frequency. The truth.
Like that's what moves everything. Like love creates birth, or even hate is a form of love disguised as jealousy. That's what
absolutely. You can't have it one without the other.
It's kind of interesting, right? It's like, it's crazy. Like
it's fascinating.
I mean, we can go on and on and on.
We can go on and on and on, and you're totally coming back on, and we're going to record more. And I have my little remote mic, so we're going to get together soon, and we can riff in person. But I wanted to go back to Lionel Phantom. So please tell us more. What is this new iteration of Lionel Phantom happening? Because
I'm gonna talk to you about that character, because actually it's coming back to my actuality. Lionel Phantom was born 20 years ago as an idea, because I like to make documentaries about artists. I made this documentary about this trilogy, actually, about this artist back in 2002, and I used some of the footage I made. I shot in Paris in '94.
Cool!
I introduced this world in this trilogy. It was called Genesis, Rebellion, and Justice. That was the trilogy.
Right on.
She was very, very out of its time. Like everybody's kind of touching on that now, but at the time it was kind of revolutionary, I guess. Because I shot it at Lot 61, a very trendy place in the city. But it was really a beautiful experience to have this clash of worlds, that kind of like collided that night. Yeah. And I was a friend, and a common friend of ours' life, at the time. You know him very well, the actor.
Yeah, wonderful person.
Yeah, and then
love that dude. I gotta bring him on this too.
Yeah, definitely. So now he's been involved in theater for a long time now, for a few years. But at first he was like, he loved it so much. He called me and he said, "Hey man, I don't know what you're gonna do with this, but you're gonna do something about me as a DJ." It was basically like we were going back and forth, and I decided to do this documentary called 52 Minutes of Aesthetics in the Life of a Record Player. That was like kind of a crazy title, but anyway,
that's a fantastic title.
Yeah, I know you like that stuff too. And so the journey was to get this Fort Lauderdale 80s DJ kind of like romantic, outlier, and create this cool documentary like I do, that is kind of my way of like, you saw some of my work related to artists, like, I like that stuff. That's the esoteric side of me, I guess. I hated those documentaries when the guy is talking about another guy in another room, and it's all about ego. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to strip that. I call it the third point documentary. Like, it's one guy talking about another guy that's not in the room and saying how great it is. I already know it's great. That's why I'm watching it. I don't need that. And every documentary was about ego. It's like just why I'm going to pay for a documentary. Half of the documentary is telling me why I'm paying for this documentary. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We can strip all that for this. It's so lame. And it's just like, oh my God, it's disgusting me. Like, it's like this thing of like, why you got to be about ego all the time?
Right. We're setting up like these idols. And it's I'm
already watching it. I want the inner journey coming at me. I want to see what I don't see. I want to see something else. That's what I want. That was the idea, kind of German. And then, you know what? I started creating his character. Lionel Phantom is going to be a DJ, but it's going to be and I had this idea of like putting him in a room called Room 99 because I like the number 9. Yeah. That's another taste. Like
we can unpack that one. 9 and the 20 years, by the way. 9, the mastering number, 20 years is like the Jupiter Saturn cycle. So having this come to a full circle fruition is gorgeous. But I'll
Yeah, that's like something you can teach me about. My daughter actually is into that stuff.
yeah, I know. We had great
great
talks. That's so
you were
cool.
amazing with that stuff. But I always figured out that for some reason that number was close to my being, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how it started. So the character became this DJ channeling artists in this room, and you know, talking to people that have died and coming into his spirit and incarnating this beautiful channel between the signal and him. You know, that was a very, and then we started shooting some images and creating a soundscape. And then I met this doctor. I was a psychoanalyst, a therapist, etc. Very interesting guy for another occupation I was doing. And I said, I'm going to have this doctor being in a fiction now, being his therapist, you know, and he's going to have this relationship with this doctor because he's dealing with mental health issues as well. And then that's what came this whole idea about writing this so fantastical script about this DJ going through this crisis. And then he's from Oakland, and I put in the revolutionary idea about music. And then, you know, it's kind of like he's going through this tribulation in the script, and he's having all these adventures happening to him. And he ends up being incarcerated in this asylum, Sanford Hill, which I titled Sanford Hill because he was a fort made of sand. He was an allegory.
Oh, fantastic.
That was, I flipped the word and I said Sanford Hill. So it's based on one of the last asylums that closed in San Francisco in 97. So the character is a timepiece from 96, 97, the pre-digital era. This analog thing going on versus like the digital world coming. And
so much great music from it. I mean, I can argue every
so
era has it, but there is some. Yeah.
And in that place, he's starting to meet those inmates, you know, quote unquote, in the open unit. And they're all channeling an artist, you know, so it becomes this kind of like theater of the absurd where everybody is channeling someone, but it's actually really channeling these entities. And then he ends up breaking out, and then he has this fantastical ending. I'm not going to say what happened at the end, but that was kind of a very ambitious script. That's like, you know, $1 million movie, obviously, you know, to make. And I say, you know what, I'm never going to find like about 20 million to make this movie right now. So I'm going to go small. I'm going to just do a short film called Lionel. So I took pieces of the story. That's what you saw. And make a piece that's 10-minute titled Lionel Phantom about the character explaining his genesis and taking some parts of the dialogue and making this kind of like beautiful soundscape and having this incredible film. And it worked. I mean, it was a very received, very, very, the most esoteric film you ever see, really. But
I absolutely loved it. I mean, I think one of my first kind of exposures to your work. As well.
So. Wow. Yeah.
So what? So how
with the static, right? You start with the static.
Which you know, me in transmissions, I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Exactly. And then 2013 rolled along, and I'm just freshly divorced, and I'm like in this place on Lewis Avenue in Bed-Stuy. I used to live in Bed-Stuy, I live in Crown Heights now.
Yeah.
And I'm like sitting there, and I'm drinking this bourbon and this beer. That a combo for $5, a beer and a shot. And I'm like, I'm starting to be channeling this voice. And I'm like, I got to write this 13-chapter piece about Lionel Phantom having this existential trek from, you know, Park Avenue to his home in Ocean Hill. And he's going to go through the city at 4 a.m. You know, I did that walk so many times after I'm going to a club.
Oh man, there were fantastic walks when the city's sort of asleep.
7, right? 4 to 7.
Yeah.
Writing a chapter per day. So it took me like 13 days for 2 hours.
Crazy. It's so cool.
That's it, man. And I wrote it down and I gave it to him. I said, do it. I said, how the fuck am I going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to run an hour monologue, a soliloquy. And it did. And we did
the crazy.
Gallery. There was I knew it would be no mistake. I knew it would be godly. And he was.
Yeah.
And
he's fantastic. He's honestly one of my favorite actor. Like he's brilliant. I can't even describe why. It's just like he's fantastic.
Yeah, and at the time it was an experiment. Like as much for him than for me. Like it was totally
so wild.
Like, he didn't even believe it himself. Like I believe it fine. You know, and he worked.
I think he has that sense of play with everything too. He's like he's very open and receptive to what is happening and trusting to just the flow. And I think that's the key.
Exactly, the essential idea of creation that I always push. And we were there. He did it, and it was this incredible experience. So we started doing different theaters.
Yeah.
We did 13 times, I think. The last time we did it was 2020 at a very fancy Ludlow house downtown Manhattan. It was packed and it was great. But then COVID hit when everything was lined up for more.
Yeah.
I'm working with this other writer, author at the American Theater of Actors, and he did plays back to back to back to back. Fast forward 6 years later, one of his colleague actor loved the piece 427, and he asked me if I let him direct it, and I said no problem. So his name is Roman Sermons. Yeah. And now we're basically doing the show at the American Theater. He's doing it, the director. I love that process of having someone taking your work and,
it's super cool.
It's great.
Adding a whole other translation to it. It's almost similar back to what we were talking about, the evolution of Blade Runner,
Yeah, because to me, as a creator, my dream is always as a playwright to sit and see the play, but I don't want to be involved in the process necessarily all the time.
Fair.
I actually came to this conclusion lately. Like, I translated a few of my screenplays into plays. I have 7 plays now, and I established a relationship with the artistic director there. And eventually, what I want to do more plays. I will do the first one there. It's in July, and that's the point also of me talking to you about all this, because it's going to be and it's going to be for 2 weeks. It's going to be great. And
and everyone wants to check it out. The link is going to be in the show notes. If you're in the area, I totally recommend it. And put the dates in.
Chris, or did you make it to that?
No, I had like the crazy flu when that happened. I had my ticket. I was all set to go. Yeah, I got so sick. I remember that. I was really bummed because I don't get out very often. And I was like, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh my God, you will love this piece.
Yeah, I know. I was really bummed.
It's so beautiful in a way that is like, it's a signal, man. I don't write by speculation. I write by revelation at this point.
I love that.
It was that, man. It was like being transported to this place, and I'm like, I was becoming this guy. Lionel Phantom.
That's gorgeous. That's crazy. So crazy. So Lionel Phantom, like the play that it's a new iteration of it.
Yeah, it's gonna have the same elements. It's kind of a remix because at the end of the day, this is the way I work. So it's like I give so much information and so much material to the director.
Yeah.
So minimalist to begin with. It's almost like a very, very easy transition,
For sure. You got like the full palette, I call it, the full box of crayon, the Crayola box beautiful. To play with.
I love it. I love it.
Makes it a lot of fun.
Process. Actually, I'm not at all. I realized that I would never done it 5-6 years ago, but I changed a lot. I kind of stripped the ego from of like possession.
I hear you. Like the whole notion of time, it doesn't matter. Like it honestly doesn't matter. And like even like whatever happens with a certain project, like really just doesn't matter. It's like whatever.
Right? It's almost like you're in that space where nothing matters as long as it's done. Like
exactly.
Like force telling you what you worry about.
Yeah, agreed.
I gave this to you. But the fuck are you? Like, don't worry. Like, I got you. That's the way it feels to me. Like, it feels like there's this person in the universe that gave me this access to this knowledge and beauty. In a way, got my back. Like this.
Yeah.
It's all about belief, really. Like, and I feel like by creating
belief and trust, it's almost like a free fall, but there's also like a net. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Of course, because it's the new paradigm. It's like. That's it. That was the test, man. Like, you got to get out of your head. Like, play with your toys.
Yeah.
It's cool, man.
Back to play, back to the sense of fun and joy.
Yeah. And imagine like having one of your works. Like, I don't know, but you're not a director per se, so you don't have that struggle. But
I always back in the day, I always wanted to, I bring something to life that way. But
it's the same thing. The paradox is this. If I turn on my screenplays and produce screenplays into novels, they have a better chance to be produced because then they will be bought as my novels, and then they
to be adapted.
landing in Hollywood with someone writing a screenplay that already have that produces the novel.
I know, because you have the pre-existing IP.
It's
I know
crazy.
it's
like
crazy.
I did it backwards.
It's absolutely
I should have
crazy.
written the novel and wait, and then but no, I wrote the screenplay first, and then I got to rechance. You know what? Let me turn all my screenplays into novels now, and
I go back and forth. You know, like we both adapt into different forms. Like some work because we love the stories or whatever. It's not done. It's just something needs to be said still with it. And I go back and forth. Like I'm adapting either my novels into screenplays or it's primarily that. Like I do the prose stuff first, almost sense. Like I guess, but it's like a grandiose treatment, and then it does make sense. I guess
to me, what I love about novelists, and to me, this is just me being like mad at myself more than anything. But if I go back 35 years ago and I started really writing seriously, like when I was 17 years old, I'm like, damn, if I did the same amount of work, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of hours and days, I mean, you know how it is.
You would have the Proust volumes.
I would actually have something I can commodify that exists as a form of art. But being crazy enough to just write the blueprints is like, and not having buildings made, but keep building blueprints. It's almost like I feel like I'm an unsung architect. You know, I was watching. You know what I mean? It's a totally.
I can totally understand what you mean.
Of your own politics,
but I'm also like, there's an art form to writing screenplays as well, and like and your playwriting is absolutely gorgeous. Especially over the last several years, it reached this point where the articulation of the aesthetic is just like, you're painting a portrait. So like you are painting, my friend.
Yeah. No, thank you. But the thing was crazy. I watched The Brutalist, right? That movie with Adrian Brody.
I still haven't seen it. I know it's been on my top of my list for.
You haven't seen that, so I won't spoil it.
Well, I appreciate it. I know some of it, but yeah, I appreciate not the spoiler. Because it is top on my list.
But what's funny about this piece of art is like, the whole concept was him like getting a chance as materializing something that he had on paper, but he lost because, of the circumstances.
Oh, crazy.
So I really felt
I didn't know that.
Wow, it's all about, I love the concept of luck. My girl tells me, it's luck and forks in the road for me. Like, I love the idea of luck because it introduces humility.
Yeah.
I really worry about people, or not worry because I don't really worry. That's not true.
Yeah, I get you.
That's not me that way. But I'm really wary. That's the word I want to use. Wary of people that don't believe in luck. Because if you don't believe in luck, that means that you think you control a lot in your life. And when people that have this obsession with control have an overblown proportion or a sense of their ego, because they figure out that if they miss something in life, it's because they made a mistake and everything is under control. And if they didn't make that mistake, it would have worked. So in other words, it's not what they tell me that they don't believe it. They don't believe in that I listen to. It's the things that happen outside of their control if I was involved with them. Because then they wouldn't think. That's what the unsaid narrative about not believing in luck. So for me, it's deeper than just philosophical debate. When people
agreed,
about it, if they don't move from the argument, I'm thinking, wow, this person actually think everything is determinism. Wow, this person that it's just me being delusional. Wow, and it goes on and on, and then you realize, the most creative, important people in the universe since we exist as humans, as human society, have said, of course, luck exists.
And whatever version of like luck you want to call it, because like I think that's an honest expression, and if you like disbelieving that like is a little dishonest, because because artists have this way of seeing just how much accidents play a part in a creative process. Like best laid plans, like sometimes the painting drops on the floor, right? Or any little micro thing kind of happens, and it leads to this whole brand new thing that oftentimes it's like celebrated as being a masterpiece. Like so many times that accidents and mistakes are celebrated as masterpieces.
Absolutely.
It's mind-boggling.
Pure perception. Like
absolutely.
That was my first film actually, called Urban Poetry. When I was 18, the script came out of a little article I saw on Le Monde in Paris. Like it was these workers we moved a monochrome.
Cool.
No, actually, it was not a monochrome. It was a canvas that was laid on the wall, but it wasn't a part of the exhibition. But these two ladies, I think, got caught looking at the canvas and start talking about this canvas being a piece of art in the exhibition.
Oh,
Meanwhile, it
fascinating.
was moved by these two workers and they moved the piece out of there. Something like that. The story
Yeah.
was basically a misinterpretation of a piece that wasn't a piece of art in the show.
Right.
And I love that. And I said,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm going to use that idea to kind of speak about the meaning of art. So in my film, there were these two very bourgeois French ladies at this gallery at Saint-Germain-des-Prés. They were looking at this painting, but it wasn't a painting. It was just a blank canvas as these workers come and move. And then they've been exposed as like, oh man, we were just talking about something that's not even a piece of art. It's just like a canvas that was laid there with no meaning. But they made it a piece of art because the way they described it. Was the meaning. They put the meaning into that piece of art that wasn't supposed to be part of that show. So I took that idea and I took that card. It was a metro card, not a phone card. Actually, at the time we had phone cards that we put in Paris that we put into these machines and we can make a phone call. And the Van Gogh painting was actually a part of the design of this phone card. And I felt it was crazy to have Van Gogh like
with a phone card, like what would it be with a metro card?
Idea, right?
That's so crazy.
I have the art. I have the graffiti art on one side. I got monochromes that are non-monochromes in a gallery on one side. I got this poor Van Gogh in a phone card. What is art? And I did this all like thinking of like art in an urban environment, and it takes so many forms and shapes that it's all what we make of it. And that was fascinating to me.
It's all perception. It really is.
All perception,
That's
man.
it.
And all what we make and marketing and what you can commodify or not commodify or share or not share. But what is it? It's nothing. It's everything. It's
exactly
what you make of
whatever we make. I was just going to say that. Exactly.
It's what you are. And then it becomes about style. And then I understood all these guys. That's what he was talking about. When Mars is talking about play what you hear, like play something else. Like, like all
it's so crazy. And like
silence and stuff like, what the hell is it? Like everything makes sense when you see it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always go back to like the cosmic joke or the infinite jest, like it's so much of it is like that. It's like there is this divine play, this divine sense, and it's like this participation between observer and witness and whatever is going on, and
it took me into that, like the forks in the road. That was my big thing to this day, like as well of Dick's work, because I just saw The Man in the High Castle, the version.
Oh, right on.
It was a great, I think, rendering of his work.
Agreed. I like that one quite a bit. I want to revisit it soon, too.
But that's actually exactly what I'm talking about. Is like dimensional process. Are just what you make of things. What's perception? It becomes a dimension. So then you create a dimension out of perception. That's the esoteric version of yourself. You can meet there with some people that feels the same way, and it becomes a tribe. Out of that tribe, you can a civilization to be more positive or negative, and it goes both ways. Like so, it's like almost like you become an electrical force within this universe. Like you become to create energy by just connecting to that truth that you find in common with the people that you share, like we do when we talk. Like when we create, like we can spend 24 hours in a room, and art will be born out of like exchanges.
Absolutely. And it's always this give and take. It's a reciprocity, like they're always left more filled.
That's the difference between us and AI. Like AI doesn't have that connection to the signal. That's the difference. Right. It's just basically a machine that can create maybe,
a large part of that too. Like if you take just an individual human being and just how much of like the different microorganisms, parasites, bacteria that compile us. We are a system, even though we're a singular person, we are a system that's within a system, and I think like that has a large part of it too. Like sometimes like our gut instincts or our heart knowledge and things like that are just, they're not visceral. They're not tied to or tethered to any just one singular experience. They're like a gestalt, they're a totality.
You know better than I do, because actually it's almost like the way you experience with like nature, which is what you do sometimes.
Like
connect to nature your way, that way, when you spend time and with a conscious purpose to get some ideas about the source of creation. In a way, you connect that with your art. That's your thing
Yeah.
with your physical manifestation of art. Through paintings and sounds. What you were doing at the time, what you're doing now. I guess still doing it. I can see in the back.
Yeah. Actually, a little more tethering. Like I have space to kind of garden. I'm finally tending land now too, which is beautiful. Like to be able to like get my hands dirty a little bit. I'm still out in the forest, but big thing is kind of like motifs or themes in my work is earth stewardship, and also the wedding that not like saying no to technology, but how do we wed this symbiotic kind of relationship that we are in with technology, and kind of envisioning more of a hopeful future that way by remembering our kind of connection, and that's sort of our inherited birthright.
Yeah, it's almost like you're reconnecting to the source by like channeling the silence. You're going to these places and you kind of like meditate, the way you do, and you kind of absorb this, energy.
It's super cool.
Like transform, I guess, from Yonder shore. Transform. Transcendence.
Oh, the transmissions from Yonder shore. Yeah, exactly. But transform, transmute. I'm transfiguration. I'm all about those. Those are words of alchemy. Those are words of becoming. It's like unfurling birth.
You think talking about these things like people in general. When I say people, I hate that word too because it's so vast. But let's say like little like pieces of light that we call people are light.
Beautiful.
That we are, I guess, if you want to go deep into this thing, are just able to exist through the idea of like thinking they exist, which is like the quantum idea. If you can jump to that, of like the photon,
before you were bringing this up, like I even wanted to say, like beyond the bacterial and parasite, we are also just like this, this congealed particles, and we're just the amalgamation of subatomic particles and photons and neutrinos that were just, it's like, what are we?
I always wonder, like, because I look at the work I do as a author, different mediums, and I'm fascinated by everything comes from experience. Yeah. But there's no experience without prior knowledge. So I mentioned that at the beginning with education, and it's a dance, it's very, very tricky to balance sometimes. It's almost a war with itself. Like, it's like,
it's a tricky dance sometimes. Right? Exactly.
Like some scientific, people that collidron that they have going on to.
Yeah.
Like, right. When they kind of like try to break down, the atoms or the small particles or,
well, we're constantly pursuing and seeking inward and outward for like this answer that can never be answered, which is hilarious. And I find it funny too, is this like, a couple things. Yeah. Real quick. Because I actually wrote an essay on it recently because like it's nothing new in this essay. It's all been said before 1,000 times before, but it's being reinterpreted or said again, maybe because like it needs to be sort of said. But like all these things that the language of science has brought back to our state of consciousness, the plethora of like ideas of like multiverse is, everyone knows what that is now. It wasn't so like, 100 years ago, not as much at least. And all these things are just describing same phenomenon that like are in mythology or in esoteric lore from thousands of years ago, or shamanic states of consciousness, just in a new way. We're finding another language to say the same thing, and maybe that needs to happen every so often too. Maybe we go through this process of forgetting and then remembering, and every time like it comes through as like, oh, this is new and brand new, but it really isn't.
Yeah, it's almost like the new day, right? Tomorrow we wake up, the dream, and you write it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I do. I mean, I kind of like dream at night, in the morning, when the mind is still working well.
It's fresh. It's rising right from that dream state. Yeah, I love it too. Like, especially when bookend it. Either like I go into sessions where into the quiet, like late at night, or rising from the quiet, are my favorite times to like capture those musings and stirrings and everything, Yeah,
the morning is special for the act of writing for me. I try to like writing, but I don't like For me, the night is
It
more about
depends.
like this. I go with the body. Like you know
Yeah.
when you're sick and the fever is at night. You cannot change
Yeah.
that as a organic body, right? You get sick, so the morning it's okay, and then by 7, 8 p.m., no matter what you do, the fever will be higher,
Yeah.
and then you fall asleep, and then the fever will go down in the morning a little bit.
Yeah.
Then it rises again at night. I remember when I was a kid, this pattern of like fever being more. And then I say, you know what? It's funny because I feel like that about life, like the cycle of the day. Like
Yeah.
I go at night and I'm like, it's feverish. It's like the day has created different pathways, different relationships, different ideas, different new traumas, new joys, new everything. And let it be, like, let it boil, let it do its work. And then the natural thing is to sleep on it. It's to rest the mind. And then when you wake up, it's still there, but now you don't have the euphoria. You don't have the boiling water. It's back to like a regular state. The water is still there, but now somehow those waters are more organized. You know, they're less. It's like the sea is back to a more peaceful state. And at that moment, you still can linger those hours to reminisce. You're close enough to the night, and then
Yeah.
in the morning it transforms itself into a more logical narrative, and you get all these ideas as a writer. I think that's, for me, that's a process. Like it's almost like the fever pitch is not good to write. It's almost like, I feel, for me, that's my,
Hmm.
because it's almost like it's good for some people. I know some people love to write at night, but I can tell, because then when I look at their work, it becomes more idiosyncratic in ways that wouldn't have been the same in the morning. So in other words,
Yeah.
you lose your universality at night. And I think, like, I don't want to get too metaphysical in this, but it's like I wrote
Oh,
in Lose, my film. The angel lives in the eternal, but the devil rises in between the seconds.
I like that.
And I feel like that about the night. I live that night a lot. And I can't do that no more. But
Yeah.
I absorb a lot at night. You absorb a lot. I mean, many mystics talk about it, the spirits, the jinn, like
Oh,
the
for sure.
the liquor, the drug, whatever. I'm not it's not my thing, but you still absorb that energy. Like it's out there. It's like the restlessness. He
The
exists for a
veils are
reason.
thin, they are super thin. And a lot
Or
of
the
times,
peak,
like, yeah,
but he exists
yeah,
for a reason. It's almost like we need that climax. It's like making
right.
love. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you need that climax. You need that pre-climax. You need that state, and
right.
then sleep comes naturally after that. You can withstand that. Sleep is for that. If you're lucky enough that you can fall asleep, right? And in the morning, it's almost coming back to you in a form that's organized, like a miracle. Like, oh shit,
I mean, there's a lot of truth to
you
it too. I mean, going to sleep, letting a mind defrag, everything that kind of dream states do, but they
know?
also, well, depending on what type of dreams we are talking about as well, there
Yeah.
are like also those visionary downloads that kind of come through, and you
Yes.
wake up with a jolt, and it's like, wow, here we
Yes.
go, because that transmitter, like the receiver was like,
Yes.
it was, yeah, like this open conduit to just download,
Like it's the magic hour sometimes. Oh, that dream
yeah,
triggered this whole piece or this whole scene. Like, for example, this winter, like those plays I wrote, those two
yeah,
plays. The last play was a study on the meaning of art in between states. So it's like I
oh,
was
cool,
fascinated by kind of like, I had this piece about Myers. It's done later, but I wrote a long time ago, this actor in mind, and it was basically when he didn't play music. I was interested in that. I hate
mm,
bioepics. I like moments. I don't like, again, I don't like to retell the story, but I
right, like
like
the
to tell the story
biography,
that has
yeah,
not been
yeah.
told. Like I like the moments when people don't do what they do because they are what they are, and they stop for some reason. I'm
Right.
fascinated with that. That piece was like Mars when he didn't play, for 5 years, and it was kind of
Yeah,
like going for a lot. But that was an interesting period because then you can study the man. Because probably,
absolutely.
I'm fascinated by this idea of like this crooner. I love Frank Sinatra's early work
Mhm.
that he did with Nelson Riddle, and he did two albums come out at that period, Only the Lonely and In the Wee Small Hours, that are very deep.
Beautiful
Song of the
songs.
Band.
Yeah,
I love that's incredible. I mean,
gorgeous.
you can put
They're
the
soul stirring, and they also speak of
it's
the liminal edges. And I feel like this is where the truth
it's
kind of
best.
lies, is on the
It's not
so-called
his
edge realms.
Yeah, it's not as vague as yours. It's the freedom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Basically, is the intimate lover, and the beauty is that.
yeah.
And but anyway, I was thinking, I want to write a play called At the End of the Line. It was the title about this crooner that's living in this building in the city, and he tried to commit suicide. I think in 51 or 52. That's
Oh,
a
wow.
documented thing because he was out of the relationship with Ava Gardner, and he had lost his voice. I think it was at the Copacabana. He lost his gig. Columbia was about to drop him. That was before the year of Capitol, I believe. And it was before he got this part in that movie, From Here to Eternity.
Oh, right.
Cliff that brought him back from the dead, really. And then after that, the written was story again. I'm sorry, the story was written again.
Yeah.
But that character fascinates me because he's in what happened in that fork in the road, right? Is that I'll go back to this luck or universal law. Yeah. What if he doesn't make it out of this? What if we don't know him? What if we never knew that and we never heard those records and he would have passed away? Would have still a crooner from the 40s? And I'm fascinated by those things. Those things happen, right? So I met this story and I started dreaming about these scenes, and it was this super that finds him basically committing suicide, but he saves him. So they live in a pre-war building on the Upper West Side, and they have this whole existential conversation about the meaning of art. And this super is from Puerto Rican descent, and says I could have been a singer too. And they have this weird thing because he's like the guy that was a star. All of a sudden, he's working in this fictitious grocery store, and this whole backstory, but it's crazy. But they have this whole first act when they go at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That was like, wow, and I started dreaming about this thing like I was him, and I wrote like, I totally identify with this writer being in like the mix of like, what's going to happen next? But the difference, I never really met it that way as a performer, as a crooner. But what if, it still be the same feeling? Like, do I deserve a second chance? Like, am I coming back? I'm fascinated by those things as a writer, as a creator. Like, what's next, right? We never talk about it.
Absolutely.
Our fears is so deep when it comes to this. There's only fears we got is like this time management on this plane. Like, what does it mean? Like, is that my work is going to be forgotten, deleted? Now with the digital era, it's even more. And so this whole play was about it. And then the second act, he visits this lady that's kind of based on Billie Holiday because he loved Billie Holiday. It's more the meaning of art itself. But this whole play was basically about this artist going through his transition in between periods of his life, and it was a total mirror at that moment, and this is when it gets good. It's when your life is what's on the page, but you don't write about yourself, but you use a play to talk about yourself.
Yeah, I feel like that's where you're really finding your voice, and it's not it exactly. It's like this translation,
right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Their life, but it's like a hybrid almost. It's like a scientific. It's like an experiment, right? This metamorphosis. This, I don't know if Kafka was thinking about this.
I wonder
because it's interesting that you feel almost like you two people. You're the page and you're you. Like the character becomes a part of you, but it's still his voice. It's still like you. It's almost you live that life. If you're a very good writer, you know how to do that. When it's like, wow, it's like it's so real. The language, the time, but it doesn't. Still you, but you're not the writer anymore. You are the guy. Yeah. And when you finish, there is a sense of death, like, because you don't want to leave that place. Like, if I could keep writing that story to this day, I would.
Oh, God. Absolutely. This is also a problem why I keep on sometimes dive back into, because I actually just miss that world. I miss those characters. Exactly. I want to see how it's doing,
Right. It's almost like they exist in their own lives, It's so deep to me, and I don't understand how is that not a more.
It's magic, man. It really is. It's creating a whole world. It is creating a whole universe. That active, pure creation. It's pure magic.
Yeah, it's almost like there is no difference between life and death and creation. Like, what does that mean? Like, so that means what? That means like we write for legacy and we write for when time is up on this plane. Like the plane goes on through those characters that become us, or do they exist in another dimension and we're just channeling that? or those films have already been made and you're just watching a movie like in the 90s,
Or
like
all the above, right? But
right?
there's
Why don't
also
you do the
something.
line? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I do. And I feel like there's a part of like where that thing is being birthed through you and it's out. It's I'm not saying it's out in the world that it's published or it's film, it's in the theaters or something, but that completion has happened and it's no longer like yours. It's no longer, that it's birthed. And there's that separation with it. But then there's also that like, endearing love with it. It's always a part of you too, because it's like it was born through you in a way. And I don't know, it's fascinating. I don't have any other answers than that.
because I
But
remember your novels, your work, even as a screenwriter. I feel it's funny because, like I said, I never wrote novels, but you did, and you did many of them. I feel like that about your stuff. Like it's almost like it's under a cloak. I think it's almost like it's under this dome of like perception that is supposed to unlock a certain way. If not, it's not going to be unlocked at all. It's almost like I feel the same way about how we connect with those things. Some of the stuff is challenging to me because you don't know if there is an alignment that has to happen for it to be released the right way. And until the alignment is not present, it won't be because it's so real. And that's what I'm struggling with. And that's when the ego comes in and the struggle,
right? Which it also could be like time and space as well. Like maybe this something is not meant for like until 20 years, in the future.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do we know the limits of control?
Yeah, I don't think we do, and I feel like that's like honestly, I don't think we do, and it's about a loosening and like a trust and a letting go.
And even when we do that, we don't even believe those words in a way, right? It's like almost like there is no trust because there is no knowledge of that idea. This is when it becomes mysterious. This is why we have to believe in those what you do, like with the transformation and this esoteric expression in a way. Where I love that word because it's about initiation. That's why I like that word. And the meaning of it. It's about initiates understanding something. It's not an elitist thing or secrecy, but it's more having the humility to initiate yourself in certain domain where you could appreciate another domain.
Agreed. It's a perpetual process too. It's not just like one initiation either. It's an ongoing. Each moment's initiation to a new.
Yeah, so it's about humility, moment,
right? Yeah.
Because that word is important to me. Because sometimes I wonder, do we have the right to do what we do? Like, what gives us the right to think that we can create a world? Is that already a problem for the universe? Because
create
that world. Is it not supposed to be there yet? So your punishment is not. You're not going to see it be born. It's born in your mind, and you wasted 2 years writing a novel. But what the fuck you do? You should be in love, having kids, and hugging your kid. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I do know what you're saying, but it's also I don't know how much thought is behind it too. Like because it feels almost very impulsive. Like it's like you're kind of possessed to do it, type of thing.
Yeah,
like you have to.
But it's crazy. Yeah. Imagine you say that to a girl, right? Hey, I have to do this, and I know you love me, and I know, because this could be great. I have everything, but no, I'm not gonna do that. But I'm gonna go in my room and write this fucking wrong. That's insane. That's why we lock people.
It is a level of sanity, to be honest. So, like let's be real. It's
it's like what the hell is going on in my mind? What I'm doing. But then when you read it, or somebody exchanges it, or you share it, then it becomes wow. I wasn't necessarily doing it. I was called to do it. Then you become messianic in a way. So then the critic would be easy to messianic with it. It's always this idea of like, again, it's about are you swaying the universe to you? What are you doing? But then you have to do it because you're the one seeing it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, that transformation is within creation. So it never ends. You don't catch. It's almost in the nature of things. You can't catch it. It's always elusive.
That's super beautiful. I do know. And Manu, we're gonna have to start wrapping up. Like, I hate to cut off our conversation, but maybe that's a beautiful stopping point. But I wanted to ask you again, what were the dates for Lionel Phantom?
So July 9 to July 19.
And where is it at?
American Theater of Actors. It's on West 54th Street. You can put up the flyer. I'll send you the flyer.
Yeah, I will.
It's 514 West 54th Street. It's going to be at 7 Thursday, Friday that week, and then Saturday and Sunday. And you have a matinee on Sunday, so it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, July 9 to the 10, 11, 12, 13. And then after that, it's July 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. So it's the next week, 5 shows. So it's about 10 shows in total. And it's incredible experience, great theater, great people, great actors. Not because I wrote the play, but of course,
No, not because, well, I mean, I'm also biased. I'm a huge fan of your work, but it's invigorating and it's always thought provoking. And I can't wait to see it. I'm totally coming out there, and hopefully anyone in proximity to the New York area could definitely check it out.
It's Midtown, it's easy to reach, and it's called 427. That's the title of the play, of the solo.
Right on. Right on.
427, man. Believe it or not.
Brother, it was so great to catch up with you, and we gotta hop on again, and because we can riff for hours on pretty much everything under the sun, and it's always like an invigorating conversation. I just want to go hole up and write now. And
maybe next time we can meet in the studio. I can come to you, and
you can come to me. We can meet in the studio. We'll get the camera properly on too, and I
like this energy, like this live energy when I'm with you. When we feel.
Dude, I feel you, and we have great talking walks too. I have some lovely remote mics. I can take you to some of the fortunate to have like beautiful reservations around here, and like it's gorgeous. And,
let's do that, June. Whenever you want to do, we can do it before even the show, and I can dwell more into the character. We can talk about your work, something else, but I love to do that, man.
Absolutely. That'll be awesome. We'll be in touch. All right. And everyone, thank you for tuning in and listening, and stay tuned for the next transmission, the next episode. And you can do the likes and subscribing and sending and spread, cross-pollinate, spread these things around like seeds, if you will. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of the From Yonder Shore podcast. Sign up, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next transmission at www.fromyondershore.com.